Tonight, we are talking about a very difficult topic, and that topic is abortion. Now, this topic has a lot of controversy and emotion, and just very passionate people on both sides of the issue. And it makes it really difficult for us to talk about because of all of that. And so I want to start off by warning you, by giving you some disclaimers about this talk that you're going to hear tonight. First of all, the goal for this talk is not to answer every question that you have. It's just not practical. So please don't be frustrated with me when you leave here and you're like, but I have so many questions. That's actually a really good thing, and that goes with disclaimer number 2. They kind of go together. They're kind of the same disclaimer. But you are going to leave here tonight with questions, and that's good. In fact, you should leave every single life night with questions unanswered. It is not our job or our goal to answer all of your guys' questions and to tell you everything there is about the faith. It is our goal to set your hearts on fire, to set you on a path that leads you to a place where you can really start asking questions and learning more. Our goal is to form your conscience and to be a support and guide with you as we do that. So it's good if you have a lot of questions. Life would be boring if you just knew everything all of a sudden and just didn't have to learn anything else. You would never be surprised. You would never be motivated, and you would just know it all and be done. So it's good if you leave here with questions. Thirdly, I don't believe in using graphic images or scare tactics when talking about abortion. And I know that some people do, and that is kind of a way that people talk about abortion sometimes, is showing scary pictures or graphic pictures. But I believe that if you are not motivated by love to draw closer to God, if you're not motivated by love to love other people and to fight for life, then you're doing it the wrong way. Then you're motivated by the wrong things. And so my goal is to help you find love and be drawn through love to fighting this worthy cause. Now, tonight we heard the story "Horton Hears a Who," which is a great analogy for the pro-life movement. See, Horton was obsessed with a little speck of dust. Sorry, I'm gonna get through all this. There he is. He's a cute guy. I like elephants. So Horton was obsessed with a tiny speck of dust that he heard speaking to him. And he knew that this speck had life on it. He knew that. And so it was his goal to protect it from those who wanted to take the life away. He knew that it was very small, but he knew that it was very, very valuable. Life has to be protected. Just like Horton protected that little speck of dust, we have to protect life, human life. And sometimes I fear that phrases like the human indignity the image and likeness of God kind of get, in church culture, they kind of get said so often that we miss how big and how important of a message that is. It's a huge thing, and if you don't understand that, I encourage you to pray about that phrase every single day. Ask God when you wake up in the morning, God, today show me how great it is to be made in the image and your image and likeness. God, show me today how other people are made in your image and likeness. Constantly be bringing that to your attention because it's a beautiful, amazing thing. It means that you are not nobody. It means you are somebody because you are made in the image and likeness of love itself. And so are all other human beings. It means that your life is holy because God is holy and you are made in his image and likeness. And all human life is holy and has dignity because we are made in God's image and likeness. But several years ago, the pro-life movement in Missouri decided to change their tactics in dealing with abortion. And they decided to change their message, and I think it's one that's very worthy of sharing. They took down all of their billboards, advertisements, flyers, everything that focused on the baby. Things that said, it's a human life. I'm worth fighting for. The baby has a right to life. All the things that focused on the baby. Why? Because they were proving unsuccessful. Because the woman was experiencing these fight or flight tendencies, she could not rationally see this life inside her as a baby. And so they changed their message to one that was woman-centered. And they focused on helping her get the needs that she needed, or get the help that she needed. They focused on giving her resources on finances, insurance, scholarships, daycare, housing, getting out of abusive relationships. And when the woman saw her needs being met, when she felt that she was being cared for and not just the baby in the womb, she could calm down out of her panic and start to see hope, which she had been missing. She could see a future for herself and a life, and then she could see her baby's life too. That year, while the national average dropped 2 to 3% in abortions, Missouri dropped 29% in abortions that year. It was a huge, huge success just for focusing on the needs of the woman. Our message has to be pro-life in all aspects, not just focusing on the life of the baby, which is worthy and beautiful and good, but focusing on the life of the woman and the other people involved too, whose lives are also worthy and good. Our culture makes flight very easy, confidential, quick, not painless, though you don't really know that, very cheap, and it promotes the woman as being very responsible. It takes very little risk, and it promotes these people as being courageous, strong, and noble, and responsible. So it's no wonder that so many choose to go to abortion. But just because a life is small doesn't mean it's without value. I love this argument that if a single living cell was found on a distant planet, scientists would explain that they have found life elsewhere in the universe. So why is a single living cell found in the womb of a pregnant woman not considered life? The entire world would lose their minds if we found life on another planet. Just a single cell on another planet. Lose their minds. Everyone would be freaking out. And yet, our culture doesn't consider a single cell living inside a woman to be a life. A single cell is very, very small, but very powerful. Just because a life is small doesn't mean it's without value. You are small. You can't be seen from the moon. The moon is close to us compared to the sun, and that's close to us compared to like the distant planets like Pluto, and that's close to us compared to the next closest star or the next closest galaxy. You are small, but just because you are small doesn't mean you are unimportant. That thief is Satan, and his mission is to rob us and others of life. He wants to trick us into thinking it's for the best. He wants us defending him, defending what he's done and what he's doing. He wants us to run to him to help him out. And he's going to feed you all sorts of lies. These lies are very digestible, but they're junk food. They won't nourish you, and they will take life away from you and deplete you. He's going to call you anti-women for standing up against abortion, even though abortion harms women, and the abortion industry lies to women about who it is, what they are, and what they want. It's going to say that men aren't allowed to talk or even think about abortion because it's not a man's issue. Well, you know what? The Holocaust wasn't an American issue, and yet we got involved, but even then, we got involved so late that many people think that we betrayed our brothers and sisters across the seas by not getting involved sooner. Satan's going to tell you that you have no right to tell a woman what to do with her own body. But you know what? It's not her own body. Just because something is in a person's body doesn't make it part of their body. That baby's body is separate from the woman's. Satan's going to be loud. Sometimes he's even going to seem to make a tiny bit of sense. He's going to be scary. But a good indication that something is coming from Satan is if it's scary or threatening. Satan threatens, while God invites. We have a really great opportunity right now as hearts are being changed in a really big way because of the Planned Parenthood scandal. But we still have to be life-giving in our approach instead of life-taking. As good as it is that all of this information is coming out about what Planned Parenthood is doing, we have to be very careful not to take away from the life of the women who are impacted by it, who regret and feel remorse and fear because of their abortions. We need to find ways to seek them and help them now, as this is a time when they are very vulnerable, and Satan uses vulnerability. God can use vulnerability too, through us. That is how he meets them. We have to send them a message of love and of life and of hope. They're probably not going to get that anywhere else. This is potentially a great time for the conversion of many struggling women. We can bring them back to life. On Friday, we saw mass loss of life all over the world, actually. And when something like this happens, our world comes together and we bond. Why do we do that? Because we know deep down inside that, like, it's built inside us to understand that life is precious. On November 13th, we saw ISIS suicide bombings in Beirut. We saw an earthquake in Japan, terrorist attacks in Paris, an earthquake and hurricane in Mexico, and suicide bombings in Baghdad. Did you guys know all of those things happened on Friday? Not just the Paris attacks. 115,000 people lost their lives. And because of this, we have been motivated to pray for our world, to pray for an increase in the respect for life, because it's built inside us that life is precious. When it's taken away, we consider it a tragedy. But we can't just pray for an end to violence from ISIS. We have to pray for an end against any human life, and that includes against abortion. We have to end abortion, and we have to actually move and do something about it. It's not just our duty as Christians, it's our duty as human beings. We can't let the lies of Satan scare us. We have to rally together and say, we are here, we are here, we are here. We have to say, I am not afraid. We are not afraid. Jesus came so that they might have life and have it more abundantly. God is life. So I want you guys to have courage, because the church teaches things that are very difficult and contrary to the culture. It's difficult to stand up for the truth. But as Matthew 5:12 says, blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. Pope St. John Paul II tells us that to be silent is part of the problem. He says, we are each other's keepers. This means that we have to work together to have a voice for those who are defenseless against acts of murder. We can be their voice and cry for help.